Call to order. Thank you. Can you hear me? The June 28th, 2022 Liquor Board hearing is now in session, and we'll deal with the minutes. The board now has all meetings transcribed which serve as minutes of the hearings. The board keeps such minutes stored electronically, and they are available to review by calling the board for an appointment. I now make a motion that the transcripts of the previous board hearings held on May 10th and May 24th of 2022 be accepted as board minutes for the date, and I ask for a second.
I second the motion.
Motion to second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The Nursery Road liquor violation case has been postponed until August 16th, 2022. I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Praley for some comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jimmy Praley. I serve as counsel to the board. At the beginning of every one of these hearings, I make a few brief announcements. The first is that the commissioners in front of you are merely part-time public servants. They all have other outside interests. When they know they have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, they'll recuse themselves. However, due to the number of cases that the board hears at every given meeting, it'd be impossible for each commissioner to know whether he or she has a conflict. So when your case is called, if you believe that any commissioner has a conflict of interest, you need to bring that to the board's attention. The board will address it appropriately. Otherwise, we'll move forward under the assumption that there is no conflict of interest. The only other announcement tonight is that this board's rules and regulations provide that the chairman, for the purposes of administrative and judicial economy, can have board counsel rule on admissibility of exhibits and objections. This board handles several cases at every hearing, so this assignment allows us to expedite the hearing. So in the unlikely event tonight that there is an objection made or there's argument over the admissibility of some evidence, the chairman will likely turn to me and I'll make that ruling. That will be the ruling of the chairman and of this board. Otherwise, that's all I have tonight, so I will turn it over to our Chief Inspector, Wayne Harris, who can call the first case. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Praley. First case is 177 Liquors. 177 Liquors R Us, Inc. Chung Hoon Kim, President. Robert, Vice President. Carrie Ruth Olson, Clerk. Sergeant White, badge number 1329. Detective T. Middleton, 1061. Detective Zapata, 1239. The inspector is Franklin Faulkner. This is a Class A beer, wine, and liquor, beer, wine, and spirits tasting and Sunday license, located at 2903 Mountain Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122. There is a restriction dated 7/28/2004, says all licensees, employees must be certified in an approved alcohol awareness program within 45 days of hire, and a copy sent to the board. First violation is a violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 401, little a, minors. RE, Anne Arundel County Police Report 22-714-469 by Detective Zapata, number 1239, Detective Middleton, number 1061, and Sergeant White, 1329, dated April 27, 2022. Second violation is a violation of the alcoholic beverages 1, Titles 1 through 12, annotated Code of Maryland, Title 6, Section 6-304, selling or providing alcoholic beverage to an individual under the age of 21. RE, Anne Arundel County Police Report 22-714-469 by Detective Zapata, number 1239, Detective Middleton, 1061, and Sergeant White, 1329. The incident dated April 27, 2022. Anyone wishing to testify, please stand, raise your right hands. Raise your right hands, please. Thank you. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Please state your names. We'll start with the officer.
Corporal Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, currently assigned to the Western District.
Thank you. Your names and addresses, if you will, please.
Benjamin Henry, Hyde, Weather, PA, representing 177 Liquors, 200 Westgate Circle, Suite 500, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Okay.
Carrie Ruth Olson, 647 227th Street, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you.
Chung Kim, the address is 2903
Thank you.
Robert Barber, 7849 Main House Crossing, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Okay, thank you. You can have a seat, please. Mr. Praley, all yours.
All right, thank you. Detective, if you could provide the board with a statement of facts in this case, please.
Good evening, Chairman of the Board. Corporal Middleton again, Anne Arundel County Police. This was April 27th of this year, 2022. It was approximately 7:45 p.m. Sergeant White, Detective Sampeto, and myself were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks at retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 20 years of age subject, who we verified the identity and age through MVA records. I have a copy of that here if you would like to take a look. Sent the CS into 177 Liquors at 2903 Mountain Road in Pasadena here in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The CS went to the store, picked out a 6-pack of Corona Light beer, took it to the front counter. The CS was given official Anne Arundel County funds. The CS advised that when the clerk rang up the transaction, he heard the cash register make an announcement to the clerk, check identification. The clerk ignored this reminder, did not ask the CS for identification. He was able to purchase the Corona Light, exit the business, and immediately turned over the alcoholic beverage to us. I know through my training, knowledge, and experience that Corona Light beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Cepeda and myself entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk as Miss Carrie Ruth Olson via her Maryland driver's license. She advised that she's been working at the store for approximately 4 months and has had the alcohol awareness training. She also provided me with a copy of her TIPS training card that she received dated March 14th of 2022. She also she was upset that this occurred. She showed us a handful of fake identification cards that she advised she has confiscated from underage patrons since she's been working there. And she advised she always asked for identification, but she did not know why. She did not ask this time. We took a photograph of Miss Olson, her identification, her tips card, and attached to the report, and a photograph was taken of the Corona Light beer, and it was subsequently destroyed. And also a picture of the Anne Arundel County liquor license was hanging on the wall. And then we submitted a copy of the report to Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, and that would be my statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Corporal Middleton. Mr. Henry, do you have any questions of the corporal based on his reading or recitation of the facts?
Just one. You were not in the store at the time?
No, sir.
of the transaction.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, any questions of Corporal Middleton?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
All right. Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right. Mr. Henry, at this point, we'll turn it over to you to present your client's case. You can do so by way of proffer, or you can call witnesses, but we'll turn it over to you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Presley. I think at this point, if the board accepts this, we would just like to proffer a statement of facts based on violation. We're not here to oppose the violation. We understand what's happened. My clients understand the mistake. And we're here to mitigate any punishment decided by the board and to apologize for our mistake.
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
As Ms. Olson's, as the officer stated, Ms. Olson is an employee of 177 Liquors, approximately for 6 months since the incident has occurred, and is here to appear before the board sitting to my left. She is TIP certified, and Ms. Kim has informed me that any actions could potentially result in her termination moving forward, though she is still currently employed with 177 Liquors. Ms. Olson is also a federal employee, which has other implications given the nature of this violation and the punishment that could incur. She's also a former military police officer. Ms. Olson also has that stack of fake IDs with her. Ms. Olson, if you could show the board that she has confiscated over the time, I'd be happy to provide it to the board, but it is what it is.
Yeah, sure.
Ms. Kim, who is one of the licensees and the president of 177, believes this is an honest mistake. Ms. Kim has fired employees without violations for improperly checking IDs at this time. Ms. Kim has also obtained a scanner to help limit any further violations in this matter. Ms. Kim's concern with this scanner has been that they are not always accurate, as you can copy barcodes off of IDs. So you can have a date pop up even though the license itself is fake. So our biggest concern in going forward is making sure that these licenses, even though we have a scanner, continually checking these IDs and making sure that this does not happen again. Ms. Olson, who is still employed, doesn't necessarily need this job in terms of monetary value. She has been an at-home work order during COVID, and this is a way for her to meet and interact with people so she's not stuck in home 24/7. Essentially, the purpose of this whole instance is that Ms. Kim, who has fired employees before, truly believes in this individual, and without checking IDs, Ms. Kim has fired people for less. I'd just like to ask, we have Ms. Olson, has anything I said been inaccurate or factually incorrect?
No, sir.
Ms. Kim, has anything I said been factually inaccurate or incorrect? Mr. Roberts, has anything I said? The only other thing I would like to add before going forward is at the time of the instance, there were 2 individuals also located in the store that drew Ms. Olson's attention. These individuals were being a little rowdy and rambunctious, and that's what led to a lapse in judgment, as her attention was fixated on these 2 other individuals in the store, which led to the instance that occurred.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
Well, I guess the struggle, or how'd you call it, a little fight going on, whatever, rambunctious?
It was just people being loud and rowdy, so that drew Ms. Olson's attention.
So then, is that why the reminder came on?
No, it's just her attention was drawn on there, and she.
Because I think that's pretty significant. If you have something set up that reminds you to check the ID, I think that's a good thing. No other questions?
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No, the chairman asked the question that I had written down. So, no, I have no questions.
All right. Commissioner Snoops, any questions? No questions. Mr. Henry, anything you'd like to add?
Nothing further at this point. I mean, it is what it is. We know why we're here. We're just asking that the board take in the fact that we have ordered a scanner. We're trying to take additional steps to prevent this from further. And Ms. Olson, in my conversations and Ms. Kim's conversations, has been a hardworking employee, which is why Ms. Kim is willing to go out there to keep her on and not just fire her. She is a good, hardworking individual, a former military police officer, and that's why we are going this route.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you for your testimony. I'm looking at the history of 177, and this is actually the 3rd violation in the last 5 years. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. The last violation occurred 4 years ago in 2018.
2019 I have, but Corbel, we're talking about the same thing. So it is a serious offense, selling to minors, and I'm going to make a motion that we impose a fine of $500 per count plus court costs, and I'll look for a second.
I'll second.
It has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you. Next case, Tom's Liquor, known as Odenton Beverage, Inc. Cornell Patel, President, Secretary, and Treasurer.
We'll waive reading.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryant.
Thanks, Mr. Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. As much as I like hearing your voice, we'll stay there a little bit.
Yeah, right. Anyone wishing to testify, please remain standing and raise your right hand. Okay, do you solemnly declare, under the penalty of perjury, and that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record. We'll start with the officer.
Corporal Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, currently assigned to Western District.
Thank you.
Kunal Patel, 7509 Tarrant Court, Hanover, Maryland, 21076.
Yeah, Mr. Lyman, I don't know if his microphone was on.
Let me try pushing.
There we go.
Thank you.
It's glowing.
You want to repeat?
Could you do it again, please?
Sure.
Thanks.
Kunal Patel, 7509 Tarrant Court, Hanover, Maryland, 21076.
Mr. Patel.
Patel Mukesh Kumar Ambalal. My address is 7707 Lexington Court, Glen Bundy, MD 21061.
You guys can sit down. Okay, you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Praley?
All right, thank you, Mr. Harris. Corporal, if you could please recite your statement of facts on this case, please.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Chairman and Board, Corporal Middleton, again, this incident occurred on February 13th of this year, 2022, approximately 4:20 p.m. Sergeant White, Detective Cepeda, and myself were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses in Anne Arundel County. We directed a confidential source, 19 years of age subject, who we verified through MVA records, and I have a copy of that here, to certify the age, to enter the Tom's Liquor Store at 1592 Annapolis Road in Odenton, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The CS went to the store, picked out a 12-pack of Bud Light Seltzer, took it to the front counter. The CS was given official Anne Arundel County funds. It was able to purchase the Bud Light Seltzer from the clerk. The clerk did not ask the CS for identification. The CS exited the business, immediately turned over the alcoholic beverage to us. I know through my training, knowledge, and experience that Bud Light Seltzer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Cepeda and myself entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk as Mr. Patel via his Maryland driver's license. Mr. Patel did not give an explanation, advised that he's been working at the store for approximately 2 years and has had the alcohol awareness training. Photograph was taken of Mr. Patel, his identification, and a photograph was taken of the Bud Light Seltzer. It was subsequently destroyed, and a photograph was taken of the Anne Arundel County liquor license that was on the wall in the store. And a copy of this report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, and that would be my statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Corporal Middleton. Mr. Lyman, any questions?
Just one, and actually, I didn't state my name for the record. It's Brian Lyman, L-Y-M-A-N, and my address is 221 Duke of Gloucester Street, Annapolis, Maryland. Corporal Middleton, I've got two questions. First, was the clerk cooperative and polite with the police officers on the scene?
Yes.
Okay. And second off, you're not a detective anymore, you're now a corporal?
It's a dual.
I just want to know if congratulations are in order, because I don't think I'm going to be able to successfully object to the reading of the charges based on your rank noted as detective, that's all.
Thank you for the compliment.
All right. Mr. Chairman, board members, my clients are prepared to admit the violations, and I'd like to be heard briefly in mitigation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Lyman. I'm going to make sure that the board members don't have any questions of Corporal Middleton before we go forward, though.
Very
Mr.
good.
Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops? No questions. All right, Mr. Lyman, go right ahead.
Thank you. My client, Kunal Patel, has been the licensee, I believe, since around 2017, the sole licensee at this store. However, prior to that, Mr. Patel was the predominant and majority interest holder in the license at this establishment since, I believe, approximately 2008. He's a naturalized citizen of the U.S. and has been a conscientious business owner of the store. I believe the prior violation that I've got from the board's records was in 2009 for a underage service. And I would just like to highlight that that's a pretty good history here. This particular circumstance, I don't think we've got a great excuse. The clerk, who's also a registered manager, simply does not have a good idea about why he lapsed on the job here. And that's why we've admitted the violation. Mr. Mukesh Patel is actually moving out of state and will be leaving employ at Tom's Liquors fairly shortly. The other Mr. Patel, Mr. Kunal Patel, has taken the opportunity to update the POs, the point-of-sale system, and has installed an ID scanner that his staff is going to be instructed to use regularly with each customer going forward to avoid this circumstance happening again. And I would note, just sort of for circumstances, that this, I believe, was the confidential source that had amazing success rate in looking quite a bit older than 20 years old back in February when a raft of stings were successful. And I believe the clerk related to me that it was due to him wearing a hat and a mask, and he simply whiffed on what he needed to do. Mr. Patel, do you have anything further to add?
Not really, and I'm really sorry about that this mistake happened. But like Mr. Brian Lyman mentioned, that we did upgrade our POS system where it's going to require each and every customer, whenever purchasing alcohol, tobacco scan, it will ask for ID. So we will have to scan the ID every time we scan alcohol or tobacco. That's about it.
And in closing, I just ask if the board would possibly consider a reprimand and potential merger of the counts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Lyman, anything you'd like to add before we turn it over to the board for deliberation and decision?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, the hat and mask, unfortunately, we've had to deal with over the past 2 years.
Yes,
so
sir.
Hopefully that everybody that came in your store had a mask on. So it was kind of creating everybody at equal. So it made it more important to check
Sure.
the ID,
We'll
for sure.
keep that in mind, sir. Sorry.
I'm going to withhold the judgment at this point, unless anybody have another comment or notice. Any of the commissioners?
Yes, I'd like to make the recommendation of, since it's been 13 years since they had an offense, a reprimand, but to ensure in the future that the POS is utilized.
It is. It's been changed since almost 2 months now.
Okay.
And Commissioner Duffy, just so we're clear on the record, was that a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend Tom's Liquor at this point. It's a recommendation that was made.
I would second the motion to do it.
Well, we got a second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Or aye. Thank you. It carried.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Praley.
Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Everyone's
Thank you,
excused.
Corporal.
Next case, Jackie's Liquors, known as JPC Liquors Incorporated, Min Yun Zhang, Assistant Secretary, Pen Long Chung, President, Secretary, and Treasurer. The Inspector, Sean Ralston. This is a change in classification, currently a Class D beer, wine, liquor, music, and Sunday at 3392 Fort Meade Road, Laurel, Maryland, 20724. This is a Class A for beer, wine, and liquors with beer and wine tasting and Sunday licenses. There are no restrictions. Anyone wishing to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Speak up, please.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Pen Long Chung, 805 Royal Crescent, Rock Hill, Maryland, 20850.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Min Yan Zhang, address 1805 Changi Fan Court, Cochran, Maryland, 21114.
Okay, Mr. Kim.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Robert J. Kim with McNamee Hosey. My office address is 6411 Ivy Lane, Suite 200, Greenbelt, Maryland, 20770.
Thank you. Mr. Praley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. Kim, this is your opportunity to present your case to the board. You can do so by way of testimony, proffer, or combination of both, but we'll turn the floor over to you, okay?
Just a quick proffer, Mr. Praley.
Beautiful.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, again, members of the board. This is an application to change the classification or downgrade. I've been in front of many boards for licensees doing more than they're permitted to do. In our case, they were basically operating as a Class A licensee when in fact they had a Class D license. And again, in the interest of transparency, they really have been operating as a Class A licensee from the time that this board approved the application for transfer back in July of 2019. And I think Mr. Chong would tell you that when he spoke to the previous owner, even before the licensees who sold the business to them, it's been operating really as a Class A licensee since 2006. So I would submit to you, I would submit on the application because nothing's really changed since the board's approval in July of 2019, except they're 3 years older. But I would submit to you that based upon the application that we've submitted and the board's instructions to the licensees, we would respectfully request that the board allow the conversion or downgrade of the license from Class D to a Class A license.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No question.
Relatively simple. Mr. Kim, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I'm not going to snatch defeat from jaws of victory, I think. So I'm going to stay silent.
Not so fast.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we grant the transfer. And looking for a second.
I'll second the motion.
Need a second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Thank you all.
You're all
Mr. Haley.
excused. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Next case, Red Tigers, known as Sergion LLC, Gene Min, owner, Inspector Roland Marshall. There are no restrictions. This is a transfer in ad liquor. Currently, Gene Min, owner on behalf of Red Tigers Restaurant, 8487 Fort Smallwood Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122. This is a Class H license, beer and wine, with music and Sunday privileges. Please raise your right hand. All right. Do you solemnly declare under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jin Min. My home address is 7805 Stonebriar Drive, Grand Bunny, Maryland 21060.
Frank Schultz, 2660 Winfield Road, West Friendship, Maryland, 21794.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shawless. This will be your opportunity to present your client's case to the board. You can do so by way of testimony or proffer, a combination of both, but we'll turn it over to you at this point.
I would make a proffer. Ms. Min owns the Red Tigers restaurant at the present time as a sole proprietor, and she's owned it for about 4 years. Now she's transferring or requesting to be transferred to an LLC instead of a sole proprietorship and to add liquor. She has no violations in the time she's operated it, and she's been a resident of Anne Arundel County for 8 years. That's it. She would just like to serve liquor where people are asking for it. Right now, it's beer and wine.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Shawless. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions of Mr. Shawless or his client?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Shawless, anything else before we turn it over to the board?
Nothing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we grant the transfer and look for a second.
Second the motion.
Mo-
Grant the transfer.
The motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried.
Thank
Good luck.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Next case, Super Taco Oaxaca, known as Super Taco Oaxaca, LLC. Rosa Elena Valentoro, member, Xavier G. Gonzalez, member. The inspector is Anthony Harmon. There are no restrictions. This is a transfer. Currently, Zoila Romero, member, and Walter Vasquez, member on behalf of Sin Frontas Cafe LLC, trading as El Buen Sabor Restaurant and Bar, 7748 Ritchie Highway, Unit 15A, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. It's a Class H license, beer, wine, and liquor, and Sunday license privileges. Please, if you're wishing to testify for or against, raise your right hand. Okay. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can have a seat, and please state your name and address for the record.
Rosa Elena Villatoro, 1020 Kensington Way, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
For the commissioner and the board members, I'm an interpreter, and I'm an interpreter for Mr. Javier due to a lack of language barrier. If it's okay.
Hey, we'll still need your name and address, right?
Yeah, we are going to need your name and address for the record, though.
My name is Alfredo Perez. My address is 8075 Fern Road, E, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061.
Thank you.
Indica tu nombre y tu dirección.
My name is Javier Gonzalez. I live in 214 McHenry Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Okay. Thank you. So, sir, if you're going to be interpreting here, I'll kind of explain to you the process. You're probably going to have to proffer your client, or your client's going to have to speak, and you're going to have to proffer to the board what your client is in fact saying. It's the one opportunity that your client's going to have to actually address this board and tell the board what he and she are seeking. So I guess it's probably the simplest way to go about doing this with an interpreter. So if you want to tell your client to explain to the board what he and she, what your clients rather, what he and she are seeking, and then you can translate to the board if that works for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Básicamente yo te voy a traducir lo que la Junta de Alcoholes requiere, lo que tú vas a peticionar o lo que vas a pedir va a ser el cambio de la transferencia que se va a hacer el día de hoy. Tienes que hablar en español para que yo se los pueda decir en inglés. ¿Sí?
Okay, go right ahead, proceed.
You go first.
Okay, we are here because we want to transfer the license over to me and Javier.
Estamos el día de hoy acá porque queremos transferir la actual licencia de alcohol para yo y para Javier.
Sí. Venimos aquí para llevar la transferencia de alcohol a Supertacos, Oaxaca, que está a nombre de Rosa Villatoro y nombre mío.
Yes, we're here today because we would like to get our current liquor license transferred to Super Tacos, Oaxaca, and which Ms. Rosa Villatoro and myself are applying for.
Okay. All right, well, let's turn it over to the board and see if the commissioners have any questions. Mr. Chairman.
Que delibere la respuesta a la Comisión de Alcohol y a ver qué tienen ellos que decir.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
I'm just for clarification, who are the new licensees going to be? 1, 2, and?
I'm just the interpreter.
Just the interpreter. Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, solo querían saber quiénes van a ser los que van a recibir la licencia transferida.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
Yes, I do have a question in reference to, are you going to be on the site at all times? Because I'm having a difficult time not knowing him that he speak English. If you're going to have individuals come to your establishment that doesn't speak Spanish.
Well, he does speak English, but not 100% fluent like me because I'm born here.
Okay.
So I'm raised and everything. But yes, I'll be in the site, yes.
You'll be at the site at all times?
Not all times because obviously I will have some time off.
Okay,
but
I understand that.
Yeah. Yes, I'll be
But
there.
the majority of the time you will be on site.
And bilingual staff as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Sí, sí, va a ser con tiempo ahí, no hay problema de lenguaje.
That's the only question I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Snoops, any questions? Is there anything either of you would like to add at this point?
¿Tienen algo que quieran agregar en este momento? No.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer, and I'm looking for a second.
I will second that.
Motion is seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried.
Okay. Yes. Thank you
Congratulations.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias. Yes.
I guess that does it, right? That's it? June 28th hearing, 2022, is now adjourned.
6:36.
We're going to make you right. Is that